Hey guys, today I just wanted to do something a little different and talk about the 2020 presidential election. If Donald Trump were to resign from office and his Vice President Mike Pence would become the 46th President of the United States. And for this video, I'm going to assume that Mike Pence will run for re-election with the Republican Party against, of course, Vice President Joe Biden, who is the Democratic nominee for 2020. Now, currently, Mike Pence has a net approval rating of negative 10%. He is around 40-50 at the moment, and Joe Biden currently has a net favorability rating of around negative 1.6%. He basically sits at 49-50, 49 approve, and 49 favorable and 50 unfavorable. Now, Joe Biden's favorability is considerably better than Hillary Clinton's in 2016, as she was only able to get around 30 to 35% of the nation to view her favorably during her entire election campaign. Now, Mike Pence's approval rating may not be very high. However, it is better than President Trump's, who has a 40-55 with a negative 15% approval rating at the moment. So Mike Pence is more approved of than President Trump. However, I do not think that Mike Pence is as energetic of a candidate. There's not as much energy around I don't think there would be as much energy around his campaign. As Mike Pence does not generate, any amount of the excitement that Donald Trump was able to generate in 2016 and is currently generating right now with the Republican Party in 2020. So first, I'm just going to fill in the safe states for the Republican Party. Now, I do not think that Mike Pence will be able to outperform his predecessor, Donald Trump, because Mike Pence, he is just not as exciting of a candidate. I think that some of the traditionally safe Republican states, solid Republican states, I think they will become likely. And so, yeah, that's why I'm leaving states like Montana and Arkansas blank at the moment. And for Joe Biden, I will give him states that I think will be safe for him. I think he will definitely take all of the East Coast with solid margins, along with New York and Illinois. Now, I think I'm just going to fill in the likely states for the Republicans. These states, they're definitely going to go to the Republican Party, but I don't think that they're going to go by as large of a margin as they did in 2016. Now, from the state of Missouri and South Carolina, I will give them to the Republican Party with a lean margin. I don't think that, Mike Pence will be able to generate much excitement in these areas. And the state of Indiana, I would give it to Mike Pence with a lean margin. However, this is his home state. So, although he was not approved of in his home state, I think that Mike Pence being from Indiana, I think this will get some Indiana voters to come out for him. And I think that he will win with a solid victory in the state of Indiana. Now, for Joe Biden, I think some of his more solid states, I actually forgot, I will give the state of Colorado to Joe Biden with a solid margin. Typically, this is not a solid Democratic state. However, in 2020, he leads by over 18% over Donald Trump at the moment. And I think with Mike Pence, this would not be much different. I think that he would lead by even more against the vice president. So I will give Colorado to Joe Biden with a safe margin of victory. And New Mexico, I will give it to Joe Biden with a lean margin. As well as the state of Minnesota, this state did only go to Hillary Clinton by 1.5% in 2016. However, I think that in 2020, Joe Biden, if he were to compete against Mike Pence, I think a safe margin is very likely for him in the state of Minnesota. So now we have our more true battleground states. However, I think some are less battlegrounds. The state of Maine, I think the at-large vote will go to Joe Biden, as well as the 1st Congressional District, I think will go by a lean margin to the Vice President. However, I think the current Vice President will win the 2nd District of Maine with a lean margin. Donald Trump did win the 2nd District by almost 10% in 2016. I think Mike Pence will as well, however, by a lesser margin. And in the 2nd District of Nebraska, I think Joe Biden will carry this district as well with a lean margin. This was done by Barack Obama when he ran with Joe Biden as his running mate in 2008 and 2012. And I think he will be able to flip this district back for the Democrats, as Hillary Clinton lost this congressional district in Nebraska in 2016. Now we have, I'm just going to fill in some of the more Democratic swing states. I think the state of Nevada will go to Joe Biden with a lean margin, and as well as the state of New Hampshire. Now, Nevada, Hillary Clinton won this state in 2016 by around, I believe, 3%, and in New Hampshire, she actually only won this state by 0.3%. I think Joe Biden will definitely be able to outperform her margin. So I will give New Hampshire and Nevada as lean states for Joe Biden. Next, I just want to take a look at the state of Arizona. Now, Arizona, this state did go to Trump in 2016 by around 3 points. However, I think that it is almost certain that Arizona will go to Joe Biden in 2020. The state is becoming more and more liberal, and I think that Joe Biden will be able to carry it with a lean margin. I do not think it will be a tilt for Joe Biden. He leads by 4% in the state. I think that Arizona, it will become a Democratic state once again in 2020, as it has not been won by a Democrat since Bill Clinton in 1996. Next, I just want to take a look at the state of Virginia. I think that Virginia, it has become a stronger Democratic state. And I actually forgot about this when I was talking about my likely states. I think Virginia will go to Joe Biden with a likely margin. It's becoming, even more Democratic at the moment. Hillary Clinton won this state by around 8%, I believe, in 2016. I may be wrong, but she did win the state by a pretty comfortable margin in 2016. So I think Joe Biden will do the same in 2020. Now, I want to take a look at the Rust Belt. The states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, especially. These three states all went to Donald Trump in 2016 by less than 1%. Michigan, he won by less than 11,000 votes. And although these states are all close to Indiana, Indiana is a very more Republican state in the Midwest. In the Rust Belt. Unlike Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which are typically more liberal states. And I think that Joe Biden will be able to carry the state of Michigan with with a likely margin. Now, he leads by almost 9% in this state against Donald Trump. I think he will do better against an unenthusiastic Mike Pence campaign. And, Michigan is almost certain to go to the Democrats again. It's almost certain to flip in 2020. So I will give Michigan as a likely state to Joe Biden. Next is his home state of Pennsylvania. I think he'll win with a lean margin in the state of Pennsylvania. It's not a very Republican state. Trump winning this, it was the first time a Republican had won this state since 1988, and I think Joe Biden will be able to flip it back for the Democrats. As well as the state of Wisconsin, I think a lean margin is likely for Wisconsin. I think Joe Biden will be able to reclaim all three of these Rust Belt states that Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. Next, I want to take a look at the state of Ohio. The Rust Belt does put him over 290. So yes, I do think that Joe Biden will be able to beat Mike Pence in the 2020 election if Donald Trump were to resign from office. Now, in the state of Ohio, Ohio is a bellwether state. The winner in the state of Ohio has gone on to become the president in every single election for the past 60 years. The state did go to Barack Obama twice, as well as Donald Trump, who won the state by over 8 points in 2016. I do think that Ohio is one of the more real toss-up states in this election. Joe Biden does lead in the polls right now by over 3%. Sorry about that. And I do think that Joe Biden will be able to carry the state of Ohio by a very small tilt margin, but I do think that Joe Biden will be able to do it. Next is the state of Iowa. Iowa went to Donald Trump by over 9% in 2016. It did go to Barack Obama twice when he ran with Joe Biden. And in this state, both candidates are basically tied. And because of Mike Pence being from the Midwest, I think that Mike Pence will be able to take the state of Iowa by a very, very small margin. I think that Joe Biden will definitely be able to pose a very strong challenge in Iowa. However, I do think that at the end of the day, Mike Pence will be able to win in the state of Iowa, although by a very small margin. Now, Biden has been put over 300 electoral votes. He outperforms Donald Trump, who won with 306. And yeah, next I just want to take a look at the southeast of the United States. First off, with the state of Florida, I think Florida will go to Joe Biden with a lean margin. With a lean margin, unlike the tilt margins seen in 2012 and 2016 for Barack Obama and Donald Trump, respectively. Now, in the state of Florida, the state has gone to both Democrats and Republicans in recent elections. It went to Donald Trump by 1.2% in 2016. I think that Joe Biden will definitely be able to flip the state of Florida. He currently leads by over 8 points in Florida against Donald Trump, and I don't think that it will be much of a challenge for the former vice president. Next is the state of Georgia. I'm going to be looking at North Carolina and Georgia together. These states, they're both becoming more and more liberal, and they are both polling for Joe Biden by around 1.2% against Trump. And I don't think that Mike Pence, being from Indiana, will be able to, be too exciting for Republicans in North Carolina or Georgia. So I do think that by tilt margins, Joe Biden will be able to flip the states of North Carolina and Georgia for the Democratic Party for the first time in decades. Now, the last state here, we have the state of Texas. I could honestly see Texas going to either candidate if Donald Trump were running. However, Mike Pence, he is a more traditional conservative. He is a more traditional Republican. I think that this will help him in the state of Texas. And I think by the smallest of margins, I think that Mike Pence will be able to flip Texas. It is becoming more and more liberal in the state of Texas. However, I do think that Mike Pence will carry the state of Texas by a small margin. So if Mike Pence were to run against Joe Biden after Donald Trump resigns from the presidency, I believe that Joe Biden will be able to win 360 electoral votes to Mike Pence's 170, similar to the 2008 election, similar to Barack Obama's margin in 2008. So I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like as well as subscribing to my channel. That would be much appreciated, and I will see you in the next video.